All right, for this mini challenge, what we have, there's a number of things, and I will show you some code snippets that you guys can use. But basically, so we've learned how to do arrays and loops. You could do this without doing loops, but we've learned how to do arrays. We've already played around with how to load images. If you guys don't remember how to do that, I want you guys to use the reference code, and we know how to do key press and key code. So I will show kind of the code snippets, but basically what we want is we want to be able to create a character using class structure. That character should have some type of move and update. The move is to look at which direction he's facing, and then we can move some in that direction. The update would be for looking which direction he's facing and then update the image that we are displaying. And then we have a draw function that is going to just draw whatever the current image is. So this is linked to my arrow keys. So when I press up, look, now my character is facing up and he's moving up. When I press down, he's facing down and moving down. When I press left, and then when we press right, he's facing right and moving to the right. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff that we've practiced going into here. We are going to create our character as a class. So let's kind of look at this in code. I'm not going to give you all of the code, but I want you to have an idea of what you need to be doing. Okay, so we are going to end up having a character code, and we're going to have 4 different images. That's what we're going to start off with. 4 different images for a character. I don't care if you don't want to use the character that I have, but I don't want you taking a long time trying to pick something, okay? This is just so that we can kind of practice doing this. We will develop as we go, okay? So even if you were just using the zombie stuff that I'm giving right now as placeholders, you can replace that later. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, so I have 4 images. In the preload, I am going to need to create some temporary variables and load each one of those images in. Once I've loaded all those images into those temporary local variables, then I'm going to need to push each one of those temporary local variables onto this character images array. Okay? Once I've done that, the preload is done, then we can get into the setup. The setup, this is not needed. Harper, I'm busy, thank you. The setup, when we get in here, we need to create a new character using our character class, and we're going to pass in some stuff. In this case, I'm passing the width, the height, and the size, just so we can see that it's working. So that's where I'm starting it at. If I went down to, let's say, 50 by 100, I am sizing down much smaller, but everything else is working the same, okay? Now, we're passing in that information to build for that character, and then only after that can we actually load the images. Otherwise, that you'll end up having some errors. So I'm just letting you know right now. And then in our draw, the only thing that we have to do in our draw is to move our character, update the picture, and then draw the character. So let's look at the character class. My character, it's a normal class structure. I have a constructor that has the X, the Y position, the width, and the height. I'm passing those in. I'm building an empty images array that's going to hold the different directions that he's facing. Eventually, we can go from this to having different arrays for the different types of animations, the up animation, left, down, right, hit, dead, all of those. Okay. Then we have a variable that is just holding a facing direction. For me, I'm just using a number because I feel that that's easier. So 0 is 1, and running clockwise, 1 is down, 2 is left, 3 is up. But you could do it in any other sequence that you want. As long as you make sure you're being consistent, it's easy to code. Then my current image, I'm starting that at, I just need a value, but I'm going to replace that with the actual images. So that's going to depend on where we are. So I need this value to have something. Now I could do this, and it should still work, but it's telling me that there wasn't anything in there. And as long as I initialize it with something before we start, we should be okay. So here, I'm actually defaulting my facing direction as right here as my default. And then when we get into the update, I'm saying, well, hey, if it's facing direction this, then my current images is this image. And I'm saying which one it is out of that image array. So here, this image array right here, this is the right one, down, left, up. So then I can actually pull which image using the index number for each one of those. That's my update. My move, because I'm using the arrow keys, I need to use key code and not key. Now, if you wanted to use WASD, which I am perfectly fine with, you wouldn't be using key code, you would be using key, and then you can actually look it up by the value. So to write that, we would say key, and then we wouldn't say this. We would go like for write, this would be D, so I would do this. Okay, that's how I would say it if I was doing the WASD keys. So I would encourage you, on the type of game that we're going to be doing, try to find what kind of keys you feel like you'd be preferable to play with, and then start practicing using those, because it does take a little bit on how we're going to do things differently. Okay, so this is basic structure. It's not super complicated. We have our constructor, which gives us our default stuff. We load the images into that image array, but we can't do that while we're creating it because we have to have the array created first, and then we can fill it second. Okay, then our draw, update, and move, they all work hand in hand. This is really only making my stuff move, which is just updating my X and Y values for my draw. My update is just updating the picture, which is updating the image that I'm going to display in my draw. Now I am using push and pop so that I'm not affecting anything else. If I throw a background image on my screen, which wouldn't be an issue, but if I had image mode for here and then I didn't use push and pop anywhere else, background image is going to get drawn in a weird position. Okay, so just giving you an orientation of how it works and what you guys are going to need to do to implement. All right, good luck. Have fun.